It is that better? It's getting kind of dark and I want to test out a recipe. Come here, skinny. Today I wanted to talk to you guys all about overeating, not binge eating, overeating and fast food and how you can prevent them from being a regular occurrence in your diet. And we are also gonna make a raspberry oat slice. So if you wanna learn my 5 essential tips to help prevent yourself from overeating, keep on watching. Okay, let's get cooking. And don't judge me, I'm like half in pajamas. I'm gonna make some raspberry bars. The irony with this is my first point to avoiding overeating and avoiding takeaway food is to increase your dietary protein. No protein in this recipe, but a common recurring theme that I see is restriction and then overeating, restriction and overeating. And I'm not talking about binge eating in this video. And if you are someone who does binge eat, I would definitely recommend seeing a licensed therapist or registered dietitian to work on that issue because binge eating is different to overeating. Okay, to start off this recipe, I'm just cutting up 5 dates. Well, I'm just removing the pits from them and then I'll slice them up a little bit before I put them into my food processor. Like I was about to say before, my first tip to avoiding overeating is to increase your dietary protein. The reason this helps is if you're getting small amounts of protein every few hours with your meals, protein is harder for the body to digest, which means you'll feel fuller for longer. Because often I see people will go like hours and hours and hours without eating. That's when the overeating starts to set in. That's when the craving starts to set in because you're hungry. Like that's normal, your body wants to be fed. So increasing your dietary protein, oh whoops, I meant to cut them up a little bit. Increasing your dietary protein throughout the day can actually also reduce that nighttime snacking feeling that you might get. So if you're someone who really gets hungry at night and your appetite's still not satisfied, it's probably because you're not reaching an adequate protein intake. A lot of processed foods, you'll tend to find that they're high in carbohydrates and high in saturated fats, but they're not necessarily high in protein. And our body does have a protein appetite. It does have a certain amount that it needs to hit. So it's going to keep asking for food until it can get what it needs. This is what cooking actually looks like in my kitchen. It's me realizing I messed up. I want to start with the oats. So I'm gonna do half a cup of oatmeal and then blend that up. And I'm gonna add my dates and about roughly 1/3 of a cup of unsweetened shredded coconut. While we're at it, I feel like I mentioned this in a vlog recently. Plan your meals. That's gonna be such a huge one. That was actually a game changer for me, was planning my meals, because you know, when I knew what I wanted to eat throughout the week, then I had the food around that I needed. I was like, I've already spent the money on this food, like it's already sitting in the fridge. By planning what you're going to eat, you're eliminating that sort of spontaneity. This is different to like going out with friends or something. This is you sitting on the couch going, I could really go for this right now. Let's avoid that and let's plan our meals. Oh, and by the way, my oven is preheating at about 175 Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit. Adding in another half a cup of oatmeal and about 1/3 of a cup of chopped walnuts, some baking powder, about half a teaspoon, and some Himalayan salt. Now in a separate bowl, I'm combining an egg and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil and a large tablespoon of flax. Now, when it comes to avoiding the fast foods and the overeating and that kind of thing, I would say the next step is to break your routine and work on creating a new one. Problem is, it's very easy to build a habit, which means it's easy to build a bad habit as well. And sometimes when we want to change this, it can feel really difficult because we're trying to drive the same way home and you're passing the same thing that you would usually stop at, or you're doing the same thing when you get home from work, but you're only changing a small portion of that and expecting that to stick. How do we break that pattern? Let's put in something new that you wouldn't normally do. Maybe it's you get home from work and the first thing that you do is you meditate for 5 minutes with an app, or you go and have a shower and you get changed into something and you go for a walk. Whatever you can do to break the pattern that you have built. Okay, now I'm gonna make a sort of jam layer to put over that crust layer, and I thought I'll go for pear and raspberries. I'm gonna take a gamble and say this would work with any kind of berry, and I'm just cutting up some chunks of pear, and I'm gonna cook these in some water just until it's gone soft. So we're gonna wait for these to go soft, and then I'm gonna be adding my raspberries in. This sounds like it's boiling. I'm gonna add in a cup worth of fresh raspberries. Okay, while that jam layer is boiling away, what I'm gonna do is take my crust and put it down into a baking tray. I've just got one of these cake ones, so I'm gonna use that, and I'm just gonna spray some coconut oil in it. Now, a very obvious tip, or I think so anyway, is learning your portion sizes. And this isn't something that comes naturally. Like, this is definitely something that you have to learn. If you're sitting there distracted while you're eating, you're probably not gonna notice when you are feeling content, because there's a difference between content and had enough food to bursting full. It's a quiet signal. It's one that you actually need to pay attention to. If you're distracted with TV, phone, working while you're eating, it's unlikely that you'll reach that level of satisfaction with your meal, and it's very easy to keep overeating. So to learn your portion sizes, one thing that I would say to start doing is eating off different plates. Like, even if you swap your meal from this size plate to this size plate, how much do you think you're gonna serve up for yourself? Learning your portion sizes will help you just get your calorie balance under control. I just tipped out some of the water. There's still a little bit simmering in there. I'm just gonna wait for everything to be soft. Allow it to cool for a moment before I put it into my food processor. Now that is all mixed up, I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of raspberries. I'm just gonna mix this through. Now I'm gonna pour this over the base layer. And then I'm going to take about another 1/3 of a cup of oats and pour that over the top like a crumble. And I'm also gonna add 1 little sachet of Natvia. If you can't get Natvia, get yourself some Truvia or some stevia. Now this is going to go into the oven for about 30 minutes. My lemon didn't make it into the jam layer. Now finally, I want to touch on the topic, you eat what you see. What you see available to you is what you will start to crave. I know for some people who live with others or live with family who aren't on the same wavelength as them, that can make it difficult, but do what you can. Like, is there a way for you to have your own shelf space? Or if you're in complete control of the food that comes into your house, you're the one that's solely responsible for what's there. Having nutritious and wholesome food stocked in your house is going to mean that that's the options that you choose from. I have a free guide called Clean Kitchen, which covers what I believe to be the kitchen essentials, and it also covers little easy dietary swaps that you can make to help clean up your eating. If you wanted to grab a copy of that, it's completely free. Just jump on over to my blog, which is www.eatrunlift.me. Okay, just going to let this cool for a little bit before I cut it up. Oh my gosh, it's 2 days later. I ran out of sunlight when I was filming this recipe, and then yesterday I wasn't even in Melbourne all day, and I was like, Mitch, please don't touch it. Please leave it in the fridge. Apparently it's really good. Mitch is literally stealing the slice across from me now. So I'll leave you guys here. I'll catch up with you guys in my next upload. Bye.